The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where you will learn how Salesforce is forging a data culture and maintaining trust with the Alation data catalog. We have a good deal of content today, but we should have time for questions at the end of the presentation. So feel free to enter your questions in the question box at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the presentation. Now to introduce today's speakers. From Salesforce, we have Pavan Tumu, who is Director of Product Management, Unified Intelligence Platform. And he's going to walk through exactly how Salesforce is leveraging the Alation data catalog to integrate trust into how they use data. And from Alation, we have Aaron Kalb, who's a co-founder and Chief Data and Analytics Officer. And he's going to talk about why data culture is so important for leading enterprises like Salesforce. And with that, I'll hand things over to Aaron to get started.
Thank you, Nolan. Really excited to be here and to present with Pavan. I'll just do a little bit of setup and then turn it over to our main event, which is Pavan's presentation on what specifically Salesforce is doing to drive data culture. I just want to provide a little bit of context on this term. It's a bit of a buzzword now, but I think rightly so. I want to define it. What is data culture? Talk about why we should care about data culture, why many of us on this call perhaps already do, and then particularly how to achieve it sort of in the abstract with the framework, and then hopefully Pavan will make that come alive with some real examples and screenshots and whatnot from their instance. So let's dive in. What is data culture? To start, data culture is a corporate culture. I'm going to finish this sentence, but before that, I just want to quickly talk about what does culture mean, right? So if we think about the culture of a country or an ethnicity or a group of people who are really into skateboarding or attending data analytics conferences or whatever, right? This is about how people dress, how they talk, but really it's about sort of the norms, how they behave, how they make decisions about what to do, and it's about what they value, who is seen as cool or admirable, as people who are brave, people who are fashionable, people who are smart or educated or strong. In the context of a corporate culture, it's all those same things, but about how the business operates. So who gets promoted, who gets the final say when there's controversy about what to do next. So culture is all about what an organization values and how it makes decisions, what it makes decisions based on. And if we think about different organizations, people might not explicitly say this, but maybe you are in or have been in organizations where decisions are made based on gut instinct or intuition, or based on who's been at the company the longest, or who's got the biggest title, or what has been done for years past, or kind of who has the most clout and has done the most coffee dates with the execs, or who's yelling the loudest in the meeting, or using the most rhetoric on their feet. These are all different ways in which somebody can make a decision, and potentially someone can get ahead within an organization. And there's many more not listed here. But in a data culture, we kind of put all that aside and make decisions based on evidence and reason. What does the data tell us to do? And the best idea wins, not the loudest or the richest or the longest serving person. So I think, hopefully this is very appealing to all of you just intuitively, that this is, making decisions based on what's actually true and right, and not some of these other things that maybe shouldn't matter as much. But the neat thing is, it isn't just like a nice thing on paper. It actually, empirically, as it turns out, leads to better outcomes. When Gartner surveys a bunch of CDOs and CAOs and CDAOs, having a data culture, data-driven culture is how they phrase it, is consistently the far and away leader out of all of these different data initiatives, some of which have been talked about for years longer than data culture, but it comes out first. And there's just a lot of evidence showing that it really helps, that if you're an insight-driven business, you earn a lot more revenue, which makes sense. You get better ROI from your data investments if you actually use that data instead of ignoring it when it contradicts, the bigwigs. You are more likely to have, major growth, and that's all sort of the carrot that makes data culture attractive. Obviously, not using data in the appropriate way can obviously result in serious consequences. Whether that's compliance violations that can cost you money, but I think the biggest risk of not having a data culture is that you do the wrong thing. Think about how costly it can be if you don't use data at all to make a decision, and you think the world is different than it actually is. That can be super costly. Or even if you have data but you interpret it wrong, or you have data but it's out of date or inaccurate, or the metric definition doesn't match what you think it does. All of those can lead to incredibly costly business decisions where you enter the wrong market, launch the wrong product, pull the wrong product, hire or fire the wrong person. Even these can be very, very consequential. So hopefully, if you weren't already, you're now convinced that you ought to get a data culture. Follow-up question, of course, is how does one do that? I'm now going to walk through a standard slide that I'll present in a lot of contexts, and my peers will as well. And I mention this to say that by extraordinary coincidence, or perhaps the fact that Salesforce, like Alation, has some similar values and principles and beliefs, a lot of these keywords that are in sort of our picture of how data culture gets built up actually overlap with Salesforce's values, which Pavan will talk about more in a second. So what I'll tell people is, you want to get success. Often that could be revenue growth, making your customers successful, launching great products, whatever it is for you. You can probably get there better with the data culture, because every decision that leads up to that success will be made based on evidence instead of based on something less reliable. So how do you get data culture? We see there being sort of three legs of this tripod. The first is data search and discovery. If people in your organization can quickly and easily find data that is relevant to the question they're asking, they'll be able to use that data as input to their decision-making process. Obviously, if I say use data, but you can't find it, can't access it, it takes you 20 phone calls to get anywhere near it, you're not going to be able to take the data into account to make your decision, because your business moves fast. So that's the first thing that you need, is a must-have, is data search and discovery. But you also need data literacy. You need to make sure that the folks who are then finding that data know a little bit about statistics, know a little bit about how to interpret data visualization, have all the context about whether the data is accurate or up to date. Because if you get the right data but you interpret it wrong, you'll still get the wrong decision with all the costs associated with that. And the final thing that you need is data governance, which allows you to trust that the data that you are finding and that you are understanding and interpreting, that it's accurate, that it's up to date, that it's appropriate to use in a given context, that you aren't misusing PII, for example. Because without that trust, you really can't make use of the data. And you really need all three, right? If you find it and don't understand it, you fail. If you find it and understand it but can't trust it, you probably won't use it. You need all of the different pieces. And different organizations have different levels of maturity on each of these things. And we've done a lot of research on this, which you can look up on our website if you'd like. But these are the sort of core things you need. And so that's why Alation provides an intelligent enterprise data catalog to facilitate all of these. Certainly right out of the box, you provide technology to enable data search discovery really easily with natural language search and things like that, and the index of all your data assets, yada, yada, yada. We provide tools for stewards to do data governance. And data literacy requires a lot of training programs and whatnot that's outside of any software tool, but can be facilitated by providing context and reference in an intelligent enterprise data catalog. So an intelligent enterprise data catalog should have intelligence and collaboration, guided navigation, active governance, raw deep connectivity. I won't belabor any of these points because you'll hear about them in action later from Pavan. But this diagram hopefully gives you some sense of how you can get a data culture and get success. Now, what is success? Two very common examples we hear about are, let's make our customers successful. Great way to be successful yourself is to make your customers successful. Another is to come up with the next great product or next great business process, kind of make everything better and newer with innovation. And at this point, I'm going to fade out some of the slide, leaving us with a few keywords: innovation, customer success, trust, and say that, again, to achieve this, you really have to have trust in the data, right? A fancy, tech company in Silicon Valley, like Salesforce is, and like, we are, usually having data be prevalent, be stored somewhere, even be accessible. Data is plentiful. That isn't the hard part. But if people say, you know what, this data looks wrong, or I know the data was wrong last month, they can dismiss the data and fall back on other cultures of intuition or seniority, or they can really want to be data driven, but just don't believe the data they have. So trust very often for organizations that are mature in search and discovery and even have a very data literate population, trust is often the final roadblock to actually achieving these big goals. But today we're going to talk about how you can build that trust and then get those great outcomes. These keywords on the screen, as I previewed earlier, happen to align really nicely with Salesforce's core values, which probably we'll talk to you more about. We love seeing these core values. First of all, because we're a very value-driven organization ourselves, and secondly, these are really well aligned to some of ours. The fourth one that wasn't on screen before is equality, which I think is so important, especially in these times. And if you think about it, data culture can also contribute to equality, because again, in a culture where whoever yells loudest gets their way, or decisions made in any of these other directions, that can reward people in ways that are biased, either personally or systemically. Whereas if we really look at the evidence and who's got the best performance, who's got the best ideas in a more empirical way, then people tend to have a level footing, and that can really help acknowledge the best work and treat people fairly and with equality. So we love seeing these core values. Alation has 4 core values as well. I won't go through all of them, but the one that I will highlight is our final value, is that we try to measure our success through customer impact. And so rather than talk about what we try to do at Alation from the Alation out perspective, I want to turn it over to Pavan, one of our extraordinary customers, to tell you about what they're doing within Salesforce to forge data culture and maintain trust. And with that, I'm going to turn it over, Pavan, to you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for setting it up. Let me do the logistics switch over, and then we'll get started.
Perfect.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Pavan Tumu, Director of Product Management with Information Management and Strategy team at Salesforce. In my role, I drive initiatives for one of the largest internal big data lake for the company we call Unified Intelligence Platform. I'm going to kick off with a brief intro of who we are, and then dive into what data means to us and how we embrace data culture and drive it so with trust. Salesforce offers the class-leading customer relationship management platform, and we are ranked world #1 CRM platform for the 7th consecutive year by IDC. And we thank all our customers for choosing Salesforce. We are also the most trusted leader in sales, service, and marketing categories. We continue to innovate and offer differentiated product experiences as a leader in these categories. What's important to us, though, is that we make sure these leading products work well in cohesion. That's what we deliver with Customer 360, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's take a minute to understand what Salesforce stands for and what our values are, which brings us together with our customers and with our partners. So customers work with Salesforce because of our people and also because of our shared values. We believe that the business of business is to improve the state of world for better. We lead the charge at Salesforce with these core values of trust, customer success, innovation, and equality. These values guide our day-to-day business and disambiguate when we are engaging with our stakeholders. As Aaron was alluding to, we do not go with who is most influential, who has the more historic context, and who has the most clout, if you will. We go with data, and we make those decisions in the interest of customers, in the interest of upholding the trust that the customers place with us. So we, as I said, use these values to disambiguate and engage with our stakeholders, including customers, partners, employees, and the communities which we all collectively serve, and the environment we live in. It all starts with trust, and customers trust our solutions to be secure, to perform, and to be available all the time. We take pride in our trust-first mindset and build security into everything we do, from our custom-built platform and infrastructure to our transparent privacy program, which offers which offers customers the visibility into what's being done when and choices to make a decision. And we trust and we uphold their trust by honoring their decisions all the time. And to our global security team, I'd like to share a personal experience to set the context. It was very difficult for me to remember the clipper size when I had to walk into a salon, despite asking every time, what's the size? And as funny as it might sound, these are the little things that customers experience in their day-to-day life. And then a few years ago, when I've moved into a new city, my quest continued, and I found this new salon. And here I go, I asked her again, and she goes, Kim, make me look handsome. That ain't hard to remember, so you can't forget it. And that's it. That's all I needed to know, and she was hired. So what that taught me is, as customers, we expect experiences that work and hire businesses which deliver. We want, as customers, our experience to be as seamless. And for businesses, large and small, data is foundational in delivering those experiences that our customers see. At Salesforce, we built Customer 360, an integrated CRM platform, which offers a 360-degree view of customers and help companies transform their business and deliver the personalized experience which our customers seek and come to expect of us. With every company embracing this pandemic gracefully, and many of those championing the path to digital transformation, it's never been more important to empower individuals with a single source of truth across the divisions of the organization, like the sales team, the service team, the marketing team, the engineering team, the finance team. Everyone in the organization should be able to consume insights of a single source of truth and offer that seamless experience to our customer, which is our um, vision with bringing to life the Customer 360. Today, more than ever, companies are also using connected applications to connect not only with their customers, but also with each other so they can offer the best possible experiences. Data culture is the key to achieve those connected experiences and set them up for success through differentiated experiences offered to customers. As a leading industry pioneer, Salesforce offers great value to our customers through our innovative products, which makes those connected experiences possible for our customers and their customers. If you are an engineer like me, you understand creating these connected experiences is anything but easy when it needs to be done at scale. There are a multitude of challenges in successfully embracing a data culture at the enterprise scale. The Oracles, the Hadoops, the S3s, the BigQueries, the Redshifts, the Azure Data Lakes, the Snowflakes, the list goes on. But I don't want to end the list without mentioning our beloved spreadsheets and CSVs that you all love. So that's the complex distributed environment with heterogeneous data sources sprawling across multiple clouds and multiple classes of devices. This is the reality we all find ourselves in, dealing with an enterprise data landscape. Now, large enterprises like Salesforce are grounded in the reality of handling trillions of events streamed or trillions of data records batched or micro-batched every day, and handling so in a compliant manner at a petabyte scale. I'm sure there are many large organizations who are dealing with kind of data landscape, and organizations that are experiencing rapid growth would require constant influx of new talent. And it is imperative that this talent that is being onboarded should be offered the best possible experience of onboarding and be equipped with training which enables them to fulfill their potential and contribute to the organization's success. And let's also take a minute to understand what are those genuine reasons which could be lurking beneath the stakeholder disagreements. Mature cornerstone products for various businesses have close to zero regression tolerance, as those regressions would disrupt customer processes and are very costly. While at the same time, these organizations are also innovating and evolving and bringing to life emerging products which they want to rapidly experiment and improve upon. So they are constrained on their business agility for these emerging products. So what these corporations and enterprises are finding themselves with is achieving the stakeholder consensus to empower the agility of these emerging teams while carefully managing the risk of regression for mature products, or maybe to empower the individual's need for data agility while meeting the requirements of compliance policies. Striking the balance, hence, is the major challenge. Let's understand further how these challenges transpose into the needs of an augmented smart catalog for Salesforce. Continuous integration for data inventory is a critical step which allowed us to stay ahead of the curve in this fast evolving landscape of data that we discussed. It allowed our users to embrace the data culture without taxing their experience. Machine learning that can guide our stewardship community and analysts to support business needs more accurately by surfacing the most relevant information within the context of their business flows, allowed our communities to scale, work faster, achieve more, but do so in a smart way. Built-in collaboration features allowed lowering the barrier of knowledge sharing, making the analytics environment more transparent and communicative. And we've also, as an industry leader ourselves, chose to partner with companies that have the same innovative fabric like Alation, who also enjoy the same industry recognition that we do. So in that context, our vision is to bring to life a smart catalog for Salesforce or HANA to seamlessly discover, understand, consume, and contribute to the enterprise data assets. Doing so will lead us with trust and propel Salesforce data maturity journey by enabling the Salesforce community with right information at the right time and by enforcing the right controls. Let me share the empowerment journey of Salesforce with the data. We needed back in the day to understand our data assets across the enterprise, who leverage them, and what they are used for within the enterprise. As Aaron rightly said, not having data no longer the problem. We most of the large enterprises have plenty of data, make use of it, and to be able to, as he rightly called out, to be able to identify it, make it available for our users to use them when they need it, and do so in a trusted way, in a governed way, is the key that will unlock our success. So back in January 2018, Unified Smart Catalog came to life with the help of about 100 passionate data trailblazers. These are to date the torchbearers of data cultures and at Salesforce and are our strongest allies. In just over 2 years, we have come a long way. Today, Smart Catalog is a core asset in our analytics, security, and compliance spaces. Teams across the enterprise come to rely on it for their data discovery, team onboarding, taxonomy identification, and big data interactive query capabilities. This overwhelming adoption and the trust vested in our solution motivates all of us on my team to contribute and continue to push the frontiers and reach greater heights, which would empower everyone at Salesforce to meet their data discovery needs and establish Unified Smart Catalog as one-stop shop for their discovery needs. Here are some of the most admired Alation features with our Salesforce data community. At Salesforce, Alation is the preferred big data interactive query for our data engineers, data scientists, and analysts alike. They all use unified search to easily discover queries, maybe for a data source of their interest, or queries in a specific state, or queries authored by a community SME that they all trust. Once those queries are found, they can collaborate with the query owner to request access or clone to extend and contribute back to the community. Either way, it drives engagement and serves as a great connection point for our community to collaborate and extend and share their best practices. As our users engage in authoring these next query, Smart Suggest is their companion. It gets better with higher engagement at suggesting the right table, maybe the right schema or the column, which is optimized for the joins. These are very valuable in saving time and improving the productivity of our data community. They could, on an alternate path, choose to explore the tables in a schema or maybe columns in a table using the preview feature, which not just offers the basic metadata of these objects, but also serve very insightful information on who are the community members using these objects as in tables or columns, how large is the engagement, which instills trust in which objects to be adopted. Maybe I'm trying to publish MDR to my or a metrics report to my CFO, understanding that this data set is being used by the large finance community gives me the confidence and trust to be able to use it for such a table stakes requirement. As an example, they could another feature they could use of preview is when I allow them to discover a specific table or schema if it is certified or if there is a warning leading up to a deprecation or if it is already deprecation. What's powerful is that these insights are served in the context when a user is trying to use them. Now that the trusted queries are found or maybe authored and our users are starting to execute them, all those 1 minutes, the 30 seconds, the 2 minutes that our users are waiting for their query results to pop back up, that's the right time for us to get their attention, to have them help the curation, like capture the micro moments, and have them help us to curate the data source, the schemas, the tables, the columns, whatever they are passionate about to contribute. They could help us suggest a better name, a description, or maybe a better descriptive tag, or the right data steward. So as you can see, it's a virtuous cycle. The more people which use it, the longer they engage in, provides us the opportunity to promote the best practices and tap into the collective intellect of Salesforce to make our data more usable, to promote curated content, and ultimately drive the trust, which begets further adoption. As much as our users love Compose, there are also some other great features of Alation which they highly engage with. Here is our typical onboarding to Smart Catalog, what our user experience was until recent past, which started with, I don't see unified Smart Catalog. And a member from our enablement team would guide our users to onboard and tell them, hey, go here, click this, click that, and you should see the unified Smart Catalog. And the answer came back, well, I find Alation and I'm confused. The fact of the matter is that Alation's implementation in Salesforce is Unified Smart Catalog. And the fact that it's not a self-service experience to our customers, and despite help from a SME, from an enablement team, there is confusion, was a concern until recent past. With co-branding, we solved that concerns, and our users are now easily able to discover Unified Smart Catalog in a self-service fashion, which is extremely important to us, and there is no room for confusion anymore. Eliminating that initial friction during the onboarding goes a long way in product adoption. Now, if I were a Smart Catalog SME, when I land on the home page, I knew exactly what I came for, how to navigate and find my way around to get to the information that I need. On the other hand, If I were a new business user that was introduced to Smart Catalog recently, then the homepage overwhelmed me until recent past. There was a lot of content, mostly useful, I suppose, but I didn't know how or what to use until I got handholding and help from someone else. Reality is, not every time I, as a business user, will be able to get time from that SME to my handhold my journey, and that's where I'm probably stuck and I need help, and that's wasting cycles which I could have used productively. The new catalog UI allowed us at Salesforce to offer an inviting experience to our business users. Less is more. I know exactly what I can do now. Feels like Google after Yahoo is what our users say now with this new experience. Hands down, the most frequently asked question was, how do I find this data set? It could be a table, maybe a query, maybe a report. With the introduction of Smart Catalog, as I said back in 2008, we were able to offer a better starting point to our communities, but it continues to be still our number one FAQ until we've introduced unified search. With unified search, users have access to intuitive data discovery experience. Search is anchored as a hero motion right in front of our users when they enter the unified smart catalog. Such facets were introduced as a first step to realize the Salesforce's data marketplace vision and offer effortless data discovery. We are excited and are looking forward to keep improving the experience for our customers on the search and data discovery in general. In a large enterprise like Salesforce, with hundreds of data sources and hundreds of thousands of tables and taxonomy terms and KPIs and all sorts of data assets, one would imagine there would be tens, if not hundreds of teams managing the metadata creation and curation. Until recent past, these teams relied and operated in a less than ideal experience for programmatic integration with Alation dictionary and glossary capabilities. On the other hand, the catalog admins could not easily approve or rescind the user token request for the API, all of which were severely limiting our ability and agility in enabling Alation API integration across the enterprise. With the comfort of the new token management UI, our users are now easily requesting user tokens, our admins are securely managing the requests, and our stewards are effortlessly curating the content. So it's a win-win that we are landing in. If I were to do it all over again, what would be the strategies I would share with my future self to embrace an enterprise scale data catalog and data management program is what we'll dive in. Effortless data discovery offers resilience against data deluge. If data cannot be discovered and it cannot be discovered with ease, its presence can't be known. Among many other problems, it leads to data sprawl, which eventually manifests into data deluge. Keep the initial data discovery experience simple. That's what I would say to my future self. A simple, intuitive, and inviting experience for data discovery is what persuades adoption. And let machine learning be your ally. Let it be your ally to turbocharge human productivity. Let it augment the data curation and meet the demanding needs of the rapidly evolving landscape on a people, technology, and process, the trifecta of all these fronts. No one need to dread compliance. It ought not be painful. Employ least privileged access model to streamline new talent onboarding to your company, maybe it is to your team or the new service within your enterprise which has gone viral. Implement a transparent approval workflow that can be customized to the needs of that specific part of your enterprise And that's the key to scale. And do not be afraid of product appropriation, and do not fight it. It's your ally and it's positive. Build on it and create and introduce the best practices and intend in the context of your users. Introduce it in the context of your users. Also implement an efficient multi-tenancy framework and empower adoption of the right set of policies which your business's maturity demand. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's rather a framework with defined guidelines and easy graduation paths for the teams to embrace. And so long as they are empowered to implement a custom policy and the framework allows them to effortlessly carry on the implementation, the multi-tenancy framework is a strong capability which will allow you to overcome those challenges. We are partnering closely with Alation product team and the leadership at Alation, and are more confident than ever that Alation would enable us over the next year or so to meet Salesforce smart catalog vision across all these themes for data discovery, to governance and contribution, and data management maturity. Our goal ultimately is to instill confidence and unleash the data for all mindset by promoting the certified and curated content. That's what we believe would enable the equality and the data democratization, so everyone across the organization have access to data, have access to it in an effortless manner, and are able to trust it and consume it in the context of where they are, in the context of their business processes. Data management is not a one-time done deal. It is a tenacious pursuit of excellence. Let me summarize our learnings along the journey. Ease of onboarding propels content creation. So we should absolutely prioritize that and make it the number one priority. Ease of onboarding for users and ease of onboarding for teams to onboard to the solution. Automated curation enables a thriving steward community. This is where we should employ machine learning to effectively augment the human curation capabilities so we can scale in this diverse landscape of fast-paced evolution of data. Then certified curated content instills confidence and embraces data for all mindset. Confidence drives inorganic adoption, and adoption of certified and curated content is what propels data culture and maturity. So a carefully crafted and executed data management strategy would enable organizations of all size to achieve data agility, which in turn is key to the promised land of data democratization. That sums up our session today. With that, I'd like to take a moment to thank my team and the Alation product team who have made this possible and continue to make strides at advancing our path. I also would like to thank you all for joining Aaron and I today. Hope it's worth your time. We are happy to take questions now.
Excellent, Pavan and Aaron. That was great content, and we do have a number of questions. So to start out, Pavan, I think this one is mostly for you, but of course, Aaron, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. How was getting people to adopt the data catalog? Were there any challenges in the beginning to that?
Thanks. That was a great question. Yes, there were challenges in the beginning, and there were challenges even today. And as I called out, the most challenging of those challenges was that we had to make sure the experience was not taxing. So we had to make sure the experience was intuitive, they were able to easily onboard, and maintaining that ongoing information flow had to be easy as well. So the teams could adopt it, embrace it, get the value out of it, all while ensuring they're not taxed heavily is the key. And that's the experience we've learned, and that's what we've employed to make progress. And maybe I should also supplement it with constant, one of the things that my team does is we have a enablement team, who constantly work with the teams and help them through their onboarding journey. And we host periodic internal brown bags to share best practices. We'll have one team who's successful come in and share the pitfalls they had to go through, the experiences that they have learned, which can avoid the same tax that the other team will have to end up paying. So we try and bring that experience across the enterprise. By doing so, we've been able to make progress.
Excellent.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, that was a great response, and I think this is related, and you may have covered some of the points here, but maybe worth repeating. You talked about the virtuous cycle. The more people contribute to the catalog, the better the catalog gets, and you talked about curation. In addition to getting people to use the catalog to find data, how do you encourage them to contribute to the catalog?
Yes, that's a great question as well. The age-old problem of plentiful data is rooted in people not being able to find data. And what do we as individuals do when we don't find data? We go on creative, and not knowing that the data already exists. If I go on create a copy, my colleague creates another, and then the 30,000 of us, or the 100,000 of us, or the 200,000 of us, depending on the size of our enterprises, if we all make hundreds or thousands of copies, that lands us into the data quality problem. So data discovery is essentially that one part which solves by making it easy. But then where we would like our stewardship community and our data community in general to come back and contribute is to certify and share and endorse those sources which they leverage, be it as part um, of the data dictionary, or be it as part of the business glossary through which we track the KPI terms or the taxonomy. Like what does this acronym mean? It, and how is this KPI computed? Maybe finance is using it in a specific way, and marketing uses it in a slightly different way. Then should we go on to building a base version of the KPI and then extend it with a variant for finance and marketing, so they all can build off of a base definition and extend? And if we do so, maybe within finance, there is a smaller community which would use a specific endorsed version, versus marketing uses another version, but the larger enterprise would come to rely on the base version. Those are the rich capabilities we rely on our stewardship community, because they are SMEs, they stay close to the data, they understand the context of business better than anyone. So that content is what helps. And they could also help us tag things better. Maybe there is a specific report that is being generated and is being used for this next corporate event, and the team who works on it knows best, and they could come in and tag those reports with with say FY21 corporate event, whatever that event might be. So those could be a few examples of tagging, identifying the stewards, having them come up with descriptions, having them certify, having them maybe even identify that something is going away, which is one of the most crucial things to discover when we have a um, there's a multi-level dependencies that enterprises draw, and one of those very frequent situations that folks find themselves in is they use a Tableau dashboard, and their world is good until they realize 6 months down the road some data was not accurate, but they've never been informed. That's because 8 levels down the road, someone chose to deprecate something 6 months ago. No one was informed of it. Those kind of challenges can be surfaced by using the stewardship community to curate and surface that insight that a specific data set is planned to be deprecated or is already being deprecated. So this data through lineage flows all the way from that 8 or 800 data source to the Tableau dashboard, so the business users or your executive team or any of you for that matter who's consuming that insight is aware that one of the data source through which the insight is being derived is deprecated, so they take a prudent choice to consume that insight. Hope that answers.
Yes, that's an excellent response. There's a question that's related, because it sounds like stewardship is really important to how your organization is using the data catalog. And this person is asking, how does Alation help your organization in enforcing a single version of the truth? And is that really up to your stewards and your that are subject matter experts, so to sort of figure out what that single version of truth is?
Okay, Alation provides us a capability to enforce templates. So our team also, my larger team also has heads the data governance council for Salesforce. So we publish standards for data dictionaries and data glossaries, which would be reviewed periodically to extend to embrace the needs of evolving enterprise. But through that standard, there is a standard template that we can configure. And again, think of this base notion and extension. So there is always going to be a standard which would be adopted enterprise wide. Maybe there is a specific part of the company, like sales team want to customize it and extend it, which is allowed through a set of complementary or optional attributes that team can choose to extend. But the standard is what drives the basic information that needs to be captured for either the dictionary or glossary. And once those informations are using the data connectors of Alation, we collect that information and make it all available through the data catalog, which is the starting point. And once that is done, we rely on the smart suggest, we rely on the machine learning capabilities of Alation to come back and suggest the object titling, the object description, which then can be used by our stewardship community to approve those recommended titles, to extend them, and as they interact with those titles, the steward community, it trains the machine learning ability and it'll enable them to scale. So yes, our stewardship community is helping us, but they have tools that they are building on, tools that we, through our data governance council, bring to table through standard templates, and tools that Alation offers through the machine learning capabilities and the expansive suite of connectors to a large set of data sources. We build on top of those.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this one actually I think is probably for Aaron, but Pavan, if you have thoughts, feel free to add in.
Of course.
Someone is asking about data culture and the data literacy component. And they're asking, how do you teach or approach data literacy without sounding like a data scientist? I'm guessing that means, how do you relate data literacy to someone who isn't, a data scientist, who's maybe a business user?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because interestingly, if you make data literacy seem really intimidating, like, oh, you have to have a PhD in stats or know how to program in R and Python to use data, it has the opposite of the intended effect. People don't want to use data. I think it's helpful to start with approachable examples. I heard a great suggestion of people say, oh, I don't really get what data is. You can tell them, well, you use data every day when you decide whether to take an umbrella or not, or wear a jacket or not by looking at the forecast, right? That's taking data about current temperature, projections of where the temperature is going to be, et cetera. And obviously, it would be a mistake to say, oh, well, there's only a 20% chance it's going to be freezing, and so I'll go out in a t-shirt. And so I think we can kind of build up from these everyday examples. People already have a bit of confidence. The most important data literacy things I'm going to point out are things like sample size. If you see that 67% of folks in category X buy the product, and then you look closer and you see that it's 2 out of 3 people, that 66% doesn't necessarily beat 5,000 out of 8,000 a sample somewhere else. So some of these things are actually quite simple, or also just looking at graphs and not being misled by a log scale or different axes. So I think there's obviously a maturity curve, and only a few people have to be data scientists. Most people just need to not be in a place where they're easily misled by some of the most common data misinterpretation possibilities.
Pavan, I don't know if you had anything to add to that. How do you think about data literacy at Salesforce?
I agree with Aaron to a large degree, and now probably the only thing that I would add is we should simplify the message. I guess that's typically when folks get lost, is when the message is very complex and the message cannot be related. If we can deliver why and how data literacy is helping them achieve what they're trying to do faster in the context of what they're trying to do, is where the likelihood of adoption is higher, of the message being adopted is higher. I think the question was, how do we not intimidate users, or how do we not come across as a preacher or a data scientist? Like, you don't need to. If we basically are able to get to someone and say, hey, you're trying to bring to life, or let's say you're part of the marketing team and you're trying to announce the next 4 services or products at your corporate event that you've hosted. And today, if it takes you, let's say, 2 weeks, 2 days, or what have you to make it happen, how would you be able to do it faster through a data by enabling the right set of tools and by enabling the right controls to show that value prop, and simplifying that message will jive well with the users, in my opinion.
Excellent, thank you. This is a little bit of a change of speed from the data literacy question, but might be for you, Pavan, and also for you, Aaron, if you want to talk about more enterprises that are using Alation. But Pavan, you mentioned that people could find Tableau dashboards with Alation, through Alation. What in Salesforce, what is Alation pulling from? What are the data sources that people are using it for, or to search for?
Well, I could start off giving an answer and spend the next day or so to give the answer. I guess at a very high level, it's not one type. It is various data sources that are spread across the analytics space, the big data space, the relational databases, the BI space, where we have Tableau and the Einstein Analytics. So there's various types of data, both which are homegrown within Salesforce and the commercial offerings across multiple clouds. So it's not really a one straightforward answer. There's like a lot of these data sources. Now, I guess the spirit of the question still is, how is this data flowing through? It's not an easy thing to achieve. We continue to partner with Alation very closely to make sure we bring in those data connectors for a very agile landscape of data sources. And we continue to partner with them, and we continue to partner with our internal teams of various parts of Salesforce as they adopt the next new data source. How soon can we go support them? But as we do so, the thought process there is to make it easier for them to adopt and use the connectors to bring in that metadata and be able to carry it forward end to end. Now, there are teams who are content with just using one piece of Alation. There are other teams who want to be able to use every possible capability Alation offers. So we don't get in the path of what they want to do. We encourage them, we coach them on what are the right best practices for improving the data management, but we don't get in their way of saying you have to use every single feature here in this specific way. We give them the path to success and we coach them to get there.
Excellent. I think that was a pretty in-depth response, but Aaron, I don't know if you had anything to add to that, anything that Pavan didn't touch on in terms of connectivity.
No, I think it was a very thorough answer, and I think one comment you made toward the end, Pavan, that resonates with me is you really want to understand the demand from your user base and sort of be responsive to that. Make sure people can get to the data that they care about, because that'll keep them coming back to the centralized source of data.
Excellent. So there's a ton of questions here, and we're not going to get to all of them. I think we have time for one more, but if you ask the question and we weren't able to respond to it live here, we will follow up with you and try to get you an answer. But to leave off, I think this is a great question, both for Pavan and for Aaron. So you as someone in your organization, maybe you're on that data management team, or maybe you're on the data and analytics team. You realize that you could benefit from having a data catalog like Alation. How do you make the case to your C-suite? How do you make the business case then for implementing a data catalog? Pavan, maybe you could start with that.
Sure. As I said, I think in our empowerment journey part of the session, if we don't know what data exists, you can't use it. That's probably the one-liner I'd like you to take away, which is there is plentiful of data. I don't think lack of data is a problem for majority of the organizations in today's world. We all have data. Worse so, we have too much data than we probably realize, and not knowing where the data is or what types of data exist, who has access to what, who is doing what with it, are the critical challenges that we need to surface up. And by doing so, we are eliminating the friction or rather the unnecessary friction that exists within our business landscape, and enabling the teams to gain traction against their bets. And maybe I take one of Aaron's original point when he kicked off today, which is maybe we are not taking the right decisions to pull or introduce a market or a product, or to hire or not a specific individual. All those business decisions can be made, but not having visibility to the data or not having visibility to the right data, if we don't make the decision in time is one thing. Having the visibility into those insights will allow us, more importantly than anything, to not make the wrong decisions and lose our customer trust. So when we talk to our C-suite, we want to lead with customer trust. Ultimately, what we want to use our data for is to maintain our customer trust and serve them better. And that's what we should use data for. And data catalog solution at an enterprise scale will empower most organizations to achieve it. But then it needs to be started with a specific scenario in mind, with generic framework that can be customized and extended. All the very best.
That's awesome. And the only thing I might add is, clearly if you can tie in your case for the catalog to what your company values, to what its critical goals are at the highest level, that'll make it more compelling, Pavan, as you just said. I would just add that depending on who you're pitching, some organizations are much more motivated by fear, by avoiding a bad outcome, like a bad decision, like we were talking about, and others will be even more motivated by the opportunity to achieve something. And interestingly, when we first started working with Salesforce, there was some visionary data science leaders who framed it in sort of the other side, not just saying that we can avoid a bad decision, but think of the incredible improvements you can make to our product with personalization and tailoring to really help customers be successful. That motivated them and making that data science even more valuable. So I think just think about your organization, what's in play, and kind of what drives people to action within your specific culture.
Excellent. And with that, we are just over the hour. So Pavan and Aaron, thanks again for the excellent presentation. This was really great content today. And thanks to everybody who attended. Even though I know we're all nervous about the election, probably looking at polls, there were some really great questions here. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them live, but like I said, we will try to follow up with you as soon as we can. So thanks everybody for attending.
Thanks, Nolan. Thanks, Pavan. And thanks to everyone in the audience.
Thanks, everyone.